Well, first of all, I'm kind of proud of the fact that executive producer Ken Symington and I were recently honored with a regional Emmy nomination for a Crossroads special we aired early this year called Riding the Rails. In the show, which is all about Tennessee railroad history and culture, we featured some clips from a first visit we made with a group called the Mid-South Steamers. Well, recently we made a return trip to Columbia where the members, who are also train engineers, were sharing the fun of riding the rails.
When I was in about the first grade, I came up here and saw them for the first time, and that was it. I said, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be involved in. I like that. It's more like an obsession than a hobby.
An obsession and hobby shared by members of the Mid-South Live Steamers, a club that's been riding the rails in 1/8 scale since the mid-1960s. In 1972, they built a permanent track at Murray County Park in Columbia. Greg Lose is a member who's built and run several trains here over the past few decades.
Most everybody has a love of railroads, and then a good number of us, we like just mechanical things, those of us that actually build the engines. So, you know, it's a lot of machining and welding and whatnot involved to build one, but it's between the two things, a love of machinery and mechanics, and then just love of trains.
3 weekends a year, the club invites the public out to enjoy free rides. And the eager passengers show up in mass.
It's riding the trains, plus we try to teach folks, you know, it's like the kids now, they haven't experienced a passenger train or especially steamers, so we welcome them down to the steaming bays, or the engineers will explain to them how the engine operates. So it's a learning experience as well. It's not just riding the train, but we do have some folks that just like to ride, but we do teach as well.
A couple of observations may be in order. First, the route has grown since our last visit. It's now about 1 mile. Plus, they've added more bridges, a tunnel, and even a train station of sorts where passengers can load up for rides. Despite the club's steamer name, less than half of its members run steam engines. They're becoming kind of rare and expensive, so if you want to run one, you may have to build it yourself. Plus, they've got to be babied a bit before they're ready for duty.
First of all, it takes a good while to load it because you have to fill the tender and boiler full of water. Then you have to put some kind of a kindling method. You can't just light coal to start out with. And then you have to have a blower and so on. So it takes you about 45 minutes to fire. And then as you run, you got to stop and refill your tender full of water and your coal box full of coal, or your oil tank if you're burning oil, or propane if you're burning propane.
Nowadays, there are more ready-to-run options like diesel engines.
You know, you fill them up with gas or diesel fuel and make sure your hydraulics are up, and you're kind of ready to run for the day, and there's less daily maintenance, I guess you'd say, on them. And then we've got one of our club members that makes an electric engine where it has 2 to 4 batteries, and it'll last all day long before you have to recharge it. And those are very popular, and they're reliable as well.
Still, you gotta take your hat off to the guys who carry on the steam-powered tradition in the name of nostalgia and history.
It's in forward, so you should be ready to go.
Guys like Scott Reed from Pulaski, who restored a steam locomotive he found abandoned down in Texas. Scott doesn't mind the ongoing work required to keep his steamer running and enlightening visitors.
I had coal back here. This is the firebox in the back. And that fire boils the water, which you have to constantly add water to it. Boils the water, makes the steam drives the cylinders push the rods turn the wheels, and there you go. I've had people that just almost couldn't believe that it actually runs on coal. You know, they would say something like, well, I can see that you've got that coal to make the smoke, but what actually pulls us along? And it's the steam. It runs like a real live steam locomotive, just 1/8 size. I've finally figured out, I think, why steam engines are so universally loved the world over. And I think it's because a steam engine is the only major form of transportation where all the moving parts are on the outside, where you can see everything moving, and it just looks so unique, so magical. You see the rods, you see the valve motion, there's the sound of it. It's about the most alive machine I can think of that we've ever produced.
Of course, some riders don't think much about steam versus diesel or the intricacies of mini train mechanics. They just want to experience, maybe for the first time on any scale, a train ride. A 1 mile trip at 5 miles an hour, man, that may not seem like a fast and furious ride to you, but beating that guy, and I'm having fun. And a quick survey of other guest riders seems to back me up. While riding was fun, the highlight of my day was meeting Kerry Nettles. He's a retired NASA engineer who at age 99 is still very active in the club, still running and repairing his own diesel rig.
There's always things to do on it. Like yesterday I was trying to run it and one of the relays locked up, with the reversing relay locked up, and finally got it loose and got the thing going.
Mr. Nettles, like most members, enjoys sharing this railroad passion with new, younger train engineers.
We would like to see more of them, but yes. In fact, we have one family that I remember when he was about that high was running one of our steam trains. Now he's like this, and he's got his own kids, and he's got 3 locomotives that are running trains. So that's kind of the way it goes. That's the way we like it.
But look out, they say this hobby's addictive. Once they give you a free dose of mini train experience, you might get hooked on riding the rails and hearing the sound of that lonesome train whistle.